Well, hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and for showing interest about this subject. It is actually the first time I have seen this matter being included in a solar PV and storage event. So I think it is very special to have today these representatives that are working in sustainability, either incorporating renewable energies in their sector of activity or assessing and supporting companies that are willing to include ESG parameters in their business models. Some of them are off-takers here, so eventually that can be of interest for many people in the audience. And well, yes, just I would like to do a brief welcome to all of them, because they belong to very different sectors. So we have, in the first place, Patricia Laplana from ASHLA, which is a consultancy specialized in sustainability and innovative technologies with experience in the built environment, industrial projects, providing technical tools to develop strategies and comply with ESG requirements. Then we have Cellnex, Mila Rey, which is Global Head of Energy. Cellnex Telecom is a European operator of wireless telecommunications infrastructures that facilitates connectivity in a sustainable manner. Then COPSESA, Fernando Garzo, which is a construction firm adhered to the UN Global Compact and the Sustainable Development Goals, and is actually an EPC contractor for solar PV. He will speak in Spanish, and I will try to translate if I concentrate enough. Otherwise, you can interrupt me and say differently. Urmusa from José Antonio Escribano, which is an engineering firm specialized in environment, sustainability, energy efficiency, and decarbonization processes through net zero proposals. And Edison Next, Piero Di Leilo. They accompany private and public clients too along their decarbonization journey by promoting financing and executing projects that reduce their carbon footprint while saving money and energy. Then Teona, who is a consultant and has various different roles, but we are going to focus in the fact that she's an expert at the intersection of finance and sustainability and is involved in international projects focused on green and inclusive finance. And then lastly, but not least, Elena Herrero Visairas, who is representing a law firm, Eversheds Sutherland, and advises clients from various industries on the design and implementation of sustainability criteria into the corporate strategy and coordinates compliance projects with special focus in the energy sector. Sorry for the long introduction, but this is how it goes. So basically, we all know that creating a carbon neutral and sustainable future through ESG principles is multifaceted and crucial goal that has to be guided by governments, businesses, NGOs, individuals, and academia. But today we're going to focus in the willingness of the business to contribute in this, being a big engine or a very relevant engine in transforming society. And basically, we are going to deepen into this measures that an organization can include in key areas and that are contributing to responsible practices. So in the first place, I would like you all to elaborate a little bit on how the business activity you are working in contributes in creating a carbon neutral and sustainable future through ESG. And what is the main purpose of your business in contributing in these parameters? So, for example, you, Patricia?
Yes, well, we have been working with what is behind the ESG principles for around almost 15 years now, because the terms have changed, but we have been working with what is behind the E, what is behind the S, mostly for the built environment, but also for urban development projects. And currently, it's obviously key for decarbonization and also for the strategies of any company, just not to be left behind. As, for example, in the real estate and finance sector, they refer to stranded asset syndromes. Well, any project that does not comply with these objectives and principles will be left behind. So we help our clients overcome these challenges in a very integrative way, not just approaching energy, but other aspects related to ESG.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we're sharing micro here.
Yeah, hello.
This is very sustainable indeed.
Yeah, it's very collaborative. No, thanks Energy Box for inviting us. And hello everyone. In fairness, I will start explaining how our business works because it's not very intuitive, I guess. In fairness, one of our main business lines is it's telecommunications infrastructure service. That means that we provide co-location service to the main mobile network operators. So our business is to help them, and they are co-located in our infrastructure towers. They share our infrastructure. This is much more cost-effective for them. They avoid CapEx, OpEx, and also is much more sustainable. We have around 12 European countries, more than 138,000 communication towers, and our energy consumption is very high, around 1.6 terawatt-hour per year. So one of our main commitments is to provide just renewable electricity to our clients. And we joined in 2019 the Business Ambition 1.5, and we have several commitments, sustainability commitments, and we are working actively with our clients following our transition plan, mainly in 4 parallel pillars. One, energy efficiency. We work together with them in order to reduce the consumption of our equipments. With the deployment of 5G, the energy consumption is going to be higher, but we are working in using more efficient equipment. Second pillar, energy 4.0. That means be able to monitor and control all the consumption we have from the consumption point in all this high number of towers that I said before, until the invoicing of the services to the clients. Third pillar, self-consumption. We are also investing on our solar PV plants for self-consumption, small solar plants. And the third one, and the most important indeed, 100% renewable in 2025. And for that, we are working not only on solar PVs for self-consumption, but also on PPAs, both direct and financial virtual.
Thank you. Fernando, in Spanish.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos, especialmente a Energy Box por la invitación. Disculpar por que me dirijo a ustedes en español. Nuestra compañía es una empresa constructora, una empresa tradicionalmente constructora que en 2015, con el Acuerdo de París, realizamos una reflexión interna de cómo podíamos avanzar en el objetivo de descarbonizar, ¿no? De ahí nos dimos cuenta, empezamos a trabajar internamente, pues políticas de compras responsables, medición de la huella de carbono, reducción de la huella de carbono. Nos dimos cuenta de la importancia de la transparencia de la comunicación. Realizamos una memoria de ESG desde el año 2019, la tenemos presentada, la publicamos en Naciones Unidas porque somos firmantes del Pacto Mundial e intentamos, junto con los stakeholders, ¿no? Con todos los stakeholders, trabajar en el cumplimiento de diferentes KPIs para que avance, ¿no? ese proceso de descarbonización de nuestra empresa.
So, as mentioned before, since 2015, this company, which is in the construction sector, has adhered to the UN Global Compact, and has basically discovered that transparency is a very important element, and measures through KPIs and acts jointly with its stakeholders to facilitate the decarbonization, reduction of the CO2 footprint, and incorporating more efficient and sustainable practices in their business.
Fruto de toda esta reflexión, nos dimos cuenta que, bueno, que la construcción emite una gran cantidad de huella de carbono, y entonces también nos dimos cuenta que la única forma de descarbonizar la economía es con infraestructuras sostenibles. Y eso nos permitió diversificar nuestro modelo de negocio hacia el desarrollo de energías renovables, construcción de energías renovables, y hoy hemos conseguido converger, ¿no?, nuestro propósito de ESG con nuestro propósito también de modelo de negocio, ¿no? Entonces podemos decir que tanto la actividad de la compañía como el propósito de la compañía está enfocado hacia el ESG.
Okay, so through the identification of their mission and what they want to contribute in the business, but also in the society as a whole, has led to the identification of what are the best and more sustainable practices that can be aligned to an activity that they consider has a high CO2 footprint, and they have discovered that not only they are parallel, but that they interact and create a good synergy and supports in a way that makes their mission more successful, and it strengthens, no, their contribution to society. I'm being creative, sorry, but I hope it reflects what you want to say. So, José Antonio, briefly, please, so that we can get into.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks just to the attendance. Urmusa Consulting is based in Madrid, in Spain, in Emirates, and Colombia. With these three different countries, we can see every single letter in independent companies and independent countries. Our aim is just to help all kind of companies just to become net zero. That's why our core industry is called Net Zero 360. We try to help all the companies since the beginning till the end. That not goes just to help you and go away when I have the money. We just go together and just to try to get this 360 that we have, and we have to be very worried about it. Just, I make a question, just today we are going to be around 33 degrees in Madrid. Just think about how important is E in this point, ESG, all right? That's it.
Thank you. Piero.
Hi everyone, thank you Energy Box for the invitation, and also Ines for the presentation. At Edison Next, we focus mainly on the E of ESG. We help our clients in their transition and their decarbonization journey in order to reduce their carbon footprint. How we do it? We finance and also execute on-site projects on their facilities, energy efficiency projects, renewable energy projects, and also circular economy projects. We focus our business in all sectors in the society, public, with cities as Madrid, Barcelona, or Sevilla, industrial, with large clients as Iveco or Group Pascual, and also the tertiary sector with hospitals or banks as BBVA or Group Quirón.
Thank you. Leona.
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks to the organizers for inviting me. In my role in banking and green finance sector, I promote green and inclusive finance. Just recently I also joined the supervisory board of a commercial bank. So from their side it's a first step in improving the governance, and I added a woman to the board, and I will head the ESG incorporation in their strategy. And in parallel, I am a senior consultant in projects with IFIs in different countries, Eastern Europe and Central Asia, mainly funded by European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and EIB, European Investment Bank. So we work with local banks to promote green finance, to raise the awareness. And what I see is that initially it's regulations and IFIs initiate thinking about ESG in the banks, but then slowly they realize the benefits. Of course, it's reducing the risks, long-term sustainability, and the reputation of the brand, and attracting responsible investors and capital and funding. Now it's very important to have the top-down approach, and first to have awareness from the board members so that they can instill these practices in their organization. So what I do is work with the boards because also the regulations are changing, lots of different new practices, and they need awareness, and then on the employee level, customer level, and also clients. So
thank you, Diana. Sorry to interrupt you because I'm running out of time. I want Elena to give her point of view regarding regulation and how difficult it is to really follow what has to be in a compulsory implementation. And what can you tell us about that? If you want to make a brief introduction about your activity, but go straight to the point regarding regulation, because we have very little time.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Energy Box, for inviting me over, and thank you, everyone, for attending this session. As Ines was mentioning, I'm a legal advisor on ESG issues. I work for Evershot Sutherland, which is an international law firm who has ESG departments and all the offices worldwide. And what we do is mainly advising clients on questions such as the one Ines has just posed. We advise on how the new regulations that are being enacted or that will be enacted may have an impact on the business strategy of the companies, how they will create risks, and we help them identify said risks and manage them. We also work with them to transform that business model into a sustainable one, which is the goal of all these new regulations that are being implemented. We help them define goals, we help them understand what impacts they can have, their activities, and not only their activities, but also those of the supply chain, because new regulation is coming that will imply a duty of care, a duty of due diligence on the impacts, the adverse impacts of the activity of the companies themselves, but also on those activities of the supply chain. And that is vast and that is extensive, and there might be sanctions, and companies will be facing different risks than those that have been facing, which are very limited, more related to reputation on ESG terms so far.
Thank you, Elena. But because we're in a solar and storage event, and because there is a parameter that talks about environment, which is included under the E of the acronym, I would like to know how can the renewable energy sector, and namely the solar PV sector, contribute in your activities to implement that parameter, and what would they need to really answer to the needs of your business activity. So, for example, Piero, you can start.
Solar PV solutions are key for our clients because it's already a mature and competitive solution that they can implement easily and fast, and it enables them to decarbonize, to decrease the carbon footprint. Also, I believe solar technology is social because it's accessible for all the population, and its low cost makes it proper for not only large companies but also the citizens. From Edison S, we are also involved in some projects of energy communities. that are interesting for the ESG because there are an environment projects, but also social, because with one PV facility you can share the production to all the customers. So it facilitates that customers that do not have rooftop or spaces for the panels or do not have the source or the money for making their own facility, they can afford this model.
Piero, I agree with you, I follow you, but how easy is it to implement an energy community nowadays, and what would be the main obstacle? Up to you.
How you have to convince a group of people to find investment. That is our part. We help companies and local authorities to invest and to promote these kind of projects. And of course, you have to cooperate with the consumers to agree in the final project, and also to cooperate with the TCOs.
Okay, thank you. José Antonio, what can the renewable energy sector do to contribute in your activity to implement the E?
Well, looking at the letter E, environmental, in just terms that's business is generating green energy. But we have to think about it, how efficient we are using that energy. Once that we be with the common sense that doesn't mind that it's a clean energy, the use of this energy, we should have in mind that as more efficient we are, more contribute to the environmental. Apart of that, another point that I want to put on the table is just how important is the things that we are doing it during the process in a big photovoltaic park, when we have to be aware about the environmental, and how important is to train everyone who is working in this architecture park.
So you emphasize the energy efficiency, and actually Fernando was nodding. If you would like to elaborate on this or put forward another point, please do so.
This point. Yo creo que bueno, que por la propia E, ¿no? Lo han dicho los dos compañeros, la energía solar, yo creo que la única forma de descarbonizar y de ser net cero en 2050.
Más el micrófono ya.
Sí, así. La única forma de ser cero emisiones en 2050 es reducir al máximo el consumo, electrificar y generar energía renovable. Por tanto, la E del environment está muy relacionada con una energía limpia como la energía solar. Pero lo ha dicho mi compañero ahora mismo, la energía solar no podemos poner fuente de tecnología por todos los sitios. Yo creo que hay que integrarla en el ecosistema, hay que integrarla en el entorno. Estamos hablando ya de agrovoltaica, estamos hablando ya de cómo se puede integrar esas fuentes de generación renovable con el entorno, con los animales, con la ganadería.
¿Y estáis trabajando en agrivoltaica?
Nosotros al final somos epecistas, ¿no? Pero sí que tenemos un parque próximo a construir que contemplamos cumplir con las medidas medioambientales de la vía y algo más adicional, un poco por ese propósito que tenemos de ESG.
Y por último, el propietario, ¿cómo lleva lo de complementar ingresos con dos actividades tan diferentes como son la agricultura y la fotovoltaica?
En este caso estaría externalizado, ¿de acuerdo? No nos encargamos nosotros. De hecho, el propietario, los ingresos es que al final tenemos un mayor coste. Digamos, tenemos un mayor beneficio económico, pero un mayor beneficio no económico. Como te contaba, ya empezamos a medir que la empresa tiene una información financiera, que es el balance y la cuenta de resultados, y la empresa tiene otra información no financiera, que es lo que contribuye a la sociedad, que para los accionistas de nuestra compañía son igualmente importantes.
Yeah, but in that point, we should talk about the S, okay, the social, because it's just when you go to the little towns, okay, and you have a coffee with the agricultural society, hey, you are coming here to offer and to suggest to do here a photovoltaic. How much do you pay per hectare? No, come on, I'm fed up, and I don't want to continue with that one because it's just my fellow has an opportunity and he's earning around 2,000 euros per hectare, okay, and I want to be part of that, no, and be aware of that because it's here the S is very important.
Yeah, definitely. And actually this leads to a question I have always posed myself, which is because sustainability includes so many parameters, basically the whole ingredients of life, basically. What happens when there is the E in conflict with the S? So Patricia, maybe you can enlighten us a little bit.
Yes, obviously, the red flag is always the social parameters, and including human rights, including health and safety, depending on the scale that you see it, community engagement. And there's always an option to find ways to comply with the environmental parameters, to mitigate and adapt to climate change with solutions that are sustainable overall, as, for example, Fernando mentioned, including agriculture or regenerative agriculture, so that you're actually not also including the community, but regenerating biodiversity. So there's a lot of aspects to consider in when we talk about ESG. And but key, obviously, the red flag and the main points is make sure that we are not having a negative impact on the social aspects. And I prefer not to talk about zero, but to talk about positive impact. So thinking of positive impact socially and environmentally overall.
Okay. Yes, Elena. Can you give the mic to Elena?
Thank you. Talking about ESG, I think it's important to bear in mind that one of the key factors for having a good ESG strategy is understanding the stakeholders' expectations and needs, and that's where the S comes into place, right? Establishing channels of communication with those communities and understanding what they're expecting and making them understand the positive effect that the project is going to have on the environment, which is at the end of the day, the place where they're based. I think that is what it's called the social license, and that is a key element to develop and deploy any renewable project. If you do not have that social welcome license to the project, you're going to have an obstacle there for sure. And that must be part of that ESG strategy, combining both elements.
Definitely. Mila, as a company that has to implement all this, do you find it's easy, or do you really need the support from the regulator or from any other agents to support your decarbonization efforts?
Here I'm going to be focused on the E because it's the scope I'm managing. At the end of the day, the current context is quite complex. And we have, in general, corporates with higher environmental decarbonization commitment. So in our case, for example, this year we have 77% of our consumption renewable. And this was extremely difficult to get, taking into account the current price of guarantees of origin. We have a commitment with our clients to supply renewable energy, but sometimes they don't want to pay for this cost, So it's a quite challenging situation, and we do not expect that the future is better. Indeed, what we are seeing is that the prices of the guarantees of origin are increasing from 2021. In 2021, the demand for GOs was 84% of the total generation, renewable generation, and in 2022, the following year, increased up to 95%. That means that it's almost a saturated market. That year was almost a saturated market. So what we are seeing is that the demand of corporates, the appetite of corporates for renewables is higher than the growth of installed capacity of renewables. And that leads increased trend of price for GOs, and this and also the volatility of the market. It's this market has a very low liquidity, so the volatility is very high, and this generate issues when you need to foresee how is gonna, which is gonna be your budget for the next 10 years in order to commit your goals, meet your commitments. Sorry. So here we are working on long-term approaches, for example, PPAs. In our case, we can do it. We are a listed company. We are investment grade. But this market is not available for any single customer because of the credit support needed as well. At the end of the day, if you are not investment grade, you are not rated, you need to post a letter of credit with a high cost. So here also the reform of the European electricity market is foreseen support of the different member states in order to make available market standard guarantees, for example, for PPAs. And we think that this market should be open to more corporates.
Thank you. I think you're bringing up a lot of concepts here and a big conversation that would require another panel maybe, but I'm sure that many people in the audience can follow you and eventually elaborate more during the breaks. Very interesting. So Teona, maybe you can add something regarding this decarbonization efforts that businesses are doing and how can the regulators support here?
I wanted, before regulators, to go back to the social and E part, especially in the solar PV industry. As Elena mentioned, the supply chain regulations are coming in, and I think supply chain transparency and traceability are very important topic, because a company can have a very sound ESG strategy, but if they're sourcing their raw materials or components from companies who have unethical labor practices, that could undermine all their efforts and actually exclude them from some green finance programs and opportunities to grow in other countries, right? We had such case. I wanted to mention one platform that EBRD has. It's called Green Technology Selector, and it's a platform of all the green technologies that are pre-approved by them. So any bank that is financing renewable energy projects or energy efficiency, they can use this platform to finance directly, and they don't need additional assessments or anything. So it opens up some new opportunities also for you who are interested in joining this platform. And because of the supply chain problems, some companies actually had to be eliminated from the platform. So it could be a risk of losing some opportunities and finance, even if it's not regulated or
Thank you,
penalties.
Yeah, I think we're talking about how important it is to comply with what is compulsory, being aware, responsible, and so on. But I think there is another important subject, which is the climate change risk that is affecting the businesses already. So this is an important subject. No, if we don't contribute in reducing this risk, it will affect our businesses. No, so Piero, maybe you can tell us your point of view.
Yes, at Edison Next, we like to change this thought, and we change it into, instead of thinking of a risk, we think of it like an opportunity. We try to explain our clients that climate change is an opportunity for them to start projects that enables them, of course, to decrease their carbon footprint, but also it will make them more competitive in the market, as they will decrease their consumptions. So this is our point of view. We have done this with our clients and we support our clients in their decarbonization with this point of view. For example, with Pascual, we have been working with them since 2014, and taking this view, We have already performed more than 30 projects with them, achieving a 30% savings in energy, and also savings for them in 6 million euros in this journey. Okay. So they have increased.
Thank you. Because I want to lead to Patricia, which maybe has another perspective regarding the risk of climate change in the business that can make the business not last long.
Yes, we have seen this for the adaptation and mitigation of climate change. The technology we're talking about is that we have been seeing, for example, in best practices that we have been working for the past 15 years for example, the green building sector, referring to international certifications like LEED or BREEAM, where they highlight all these technologies, but also information, because we need to not only have better power, better energy power, but also build buildings better. And the architecture needs to change. We need to have passive designs. We have to reduce the embodied carbon, and that's why we enforce assessments like life cycle assessment, so that we have all this information, which is key now for decarbonization. So we're not just talking about the source, but of the whole life cycle, which includes the supply chains of the products that are coming to the building on a social, environmental way, and even for health and safety for the users indoors. So there's a lot of aspects related to climate change, and resiliency is also a key aspects, especially in urban development that we see now. Mm-hmm. That is something that is very important also to mitigate on a larger scale.
Okay. Our master of ceremonies, how much time do we have left? Hello, the organizer. I wanted Elena to elaborate a little bit on the regulation part, how easy it is to know how to implement, and give us some advice. There's so much regulation in so many spheres, European, local, finance. Give us a little bit of light on this.
Yeah, well, having light is a bit complex nowadays, because just as a figure, giving you a figure, during the last 12 months there have been 150 announcements of legal proposals. So that's a rough number, but kind of explains the difficulty of being aware of all the potential changes that are going to be ahead. In terms of obligations nowadays, companies must report. There are certain thresholds for companies to report on non-financial information from the directive, which was implemented at least in Spain in 2018. Now there are lots of companies that are conveying messages and that are reporting KPIs on their goals, right? On their ESG goals. But there is a new directive coming into place, which was approved last January, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which is going to help a little bit understand the rules to all the players, because they're seeking for uniformity. Up to date, companies are reporting and trying to comply with obligations, but the rules are not yet well defined, not even the acronyms, not even the KPIs. So that's coming, and I think companies should start working on that, because the demand of data is going to be huge.
Sorry, thank you. What is Spain doing in this respect to make it easier? Are you aware of anything, any measures?
Well, Spain has implemented that first directive, and what has been done, which is a difference to other implementation in the European Union, is that it's requesting an additional requirement for information, which is a limited review. Therefore, making that information reliable, because at the end of the day, companies are communicating these KPIs to prove that they're transforming their business model into sustainable models, and comply with certain requirements for accessing better financing conditions, for instance, and letting their stakeholders know how well they're complying and how well they're meeting their expectations, if they have done it right. I mean, if they've identified those expectations and have put them as a priority in their business model. So,
Thank you. I mean, definitely legal assessment is important in this respect because of the complexity. I would like to finish on our panel being aware that all these parameters are constantly changing because society changes and the environmental needs are also evolving, hopefully for better and not for worse. How do you see this, José Antonio? How do you foresee the future in this respect?
Well, I think that we have to be very sensible with this. We talk about with the E, we talk about the S, and here we are around 100 people that I think that we have in our hands this G, the governance, okay? I think that we have to be the mirror of our employees or colleagues. I could ask you, how many hours of training about ESG have you received? Or how many hours have you invested in your employees talking about this? This is not a trading topic, no, that it's just the yogurt we have in the advert on TV, that the yogurt is sustainable, okay? This is just, we have to put all our effort that this is, I don't want to say that it's just we are late, but we have to be very conscious about what's going on, that ESG is here forever, and we have to be the mirror to many people in these terms.
So the earlier the better, right?
Yep.
Fernando.
Sí, yo creo que, bueno, sobre todo desde el punto de vista de si nos creemos que los cambios cada vez son más rápidos y que factores económicos, sociales, políticos, tecnológicos que están afectando a estos cambios, yo creo que la ESG debe adaptarse a estos cambios. Debemos tener transparencia, como he dicho antes, en comunicar con los stakeholders, ir adaptando esos indicadores, porque sin indicadores no hay avance de forma continua según se vayan dando los avances futuros en ESG. Hay una cosa que no he mencionado anteriormente que para mí era muy importante y es cuando hablamos de cómo la energía solar puede fomentar la E, ¿no?, del medio ambiente, del environment. Y es lo siguiente, está muy bien generar energía renovable, pero tenemos que tener un plan para cuando esa tecnología es obsoleta. Tenemos que pensar en la economía circular. ¿Qué pasará cuando esos parques solares estén obsoletos? ¿Qué hacemos con esos materiales, no?
Bueno, eso podéis hablarlo durante el café, pero yo te puedo responder un poquito, porque realmente ahora mismo existe la tecnología y la capacidad de hacerlo, simplemente que la rentabilidad pues no es tan interesante, pero lo será cuando se desmantelen de forma masiva muchos proyectos que están en operación ahora mismo, así que no os inquietéis por esa parte, porque lo bueno es que aunque hay que reciclar todos esos materiales, mientras están vivos producen energía limpia, no como otros materiales que tenemos alrededor que no tienen esa virtud, ¿no? Basically, he was making emphasis on the transparency, which is important to relate to the stakeholders in order to keep this communication fluent and being able to measure how has been the implementation and hopefully successful implementation, but being in constant contact to adapt the strategies to the real needs, which obviously will be evolving when we're talking about decades' time. Teona, if you would like to add something.
Yeah, I would add that right now, because of so many changes in regulations and metrics, there is quite an inconsistency. So some companies are taking advantage of it. So through greenwashing and accessing finance through claims that are not really real. So I think it's very important in the future that the regulations are stricter, there is more enforcement, and there is more clarity and guidance on how to be. Because right now, even some metrics and ratings are not comparable, and mostly they are self-reported. So comparability, standardization, and then enforcement would be really important. So the companies also know what to do and not be discriminated by greenwashers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So actually we have to close the conversation now, finish. But I would like to say that really sustainability is showing its relevance, and I have the chance to participate in the next panel talking about this. And it's not me that says so, but actually it has been identified that technology advances are as important as community engagement to make possible a better better future and to make our businesses last for long. So thank you for giving your point of view and enriching our conversation in these type of conferences.